So, hi, welcome. So this talk is about RaspiBlitz, and it started with Lightning. Where are we now? My name is Rootzoll. I'm the guy with the helmet normally. Today I have not my helmet here, but I hope you're still satisfied seeing my face. The other people that can be part of this or will be part of this presentation are two robots I have here. The one is OpenOMS, the other is Fusion. Fusion is just in a kind of canned version, maybe in the end for you, but we have OpenOMS here live, so just in case you have questions. Just a quick reminder where this because that's in the title, right? With RaspiBlitz, where did it all begin? It began at the Lightning Hack days we were doing here in Berlin, 2018. That's quite some time ago. It's kind of crazy to think about it. So it's almost like it's already over 7 years now that we did those Lightning Hack days here in Berlin. And the one thing was, of course, we wanted to. This was this Lightning idea. There were the first implementations. We wanted to try them out, and so we started to build nodes at the table. And basically, on the first Lightning Hack day, kind of realizing it would be nice to have something, some tutorials, some scripts to set it up quickly. And basically, this was where the idea of the RaspiBlitz was born. And from there on, it developed from a shell script to multiple shell scripts to really more and more kind of a complex system that you have right now. So just want to let you know, Lightning was basically the idea to have it from the beginning in there. And why was it important to have a node? Because you needed something, of course, 24/7 running. You didn't need that before for Bitcoin. Basically, you could close your laptop basically and sync up the blockchain next time you want to connect your hardware wallet or something or make your transaction. But for Lightning, you needed this always on situation. We then decided to go for the Raspberry Pi, which was widely available. People love to tinker with it, and that's where we started. And after kind of 7 years, I have to say it's kind of nice looking back to see so many people contributing to this project. So on GitHub, we have over 200 contributors. Some of them just corrected a typo, but it's basically very, very nice to see such great engagement from the community. Today we have basically, I like to say, 4 people in our kind of core team. That's basically me doing the maintaining, OpenOMS, a lot of taking care of the support in the community channels. Fusion, who's doing on the API work, and C. Stenglein doing the web UI development, kind of having the lead on that. During the time, we got a lot of good support, also monetary-wise. So Fulmo was always a big supporter, helping out. OpenSats was very gracious, also supporting our work, and also the Human Rights Foundation. So that was really very nice over the last kind of 7 years to see. Just to really remind you, it was with what kind of hardware we started. We started with a Raspberry Pi 3, so really hard to think about that basically. I would not recommend any more to use that device. That's basically a kind of out of shelf for RaspiBlitz right now, but it basically started there. It was very, very slow. It even had problems to sync the blockchain. We needed basically to copy the blockchain over. We provided an FTP server for you to download the blockchain. It was kind of crazy time. So what you could see from the beginning is like there were always constraints on hardware. We started even with a mechanical HDD, and we had really problems when the HDD kind of was underpowered, was going out, and then we had data corruption problems. The only good takeaway from these times, I have to say, was we very early on had from the community requests, how do I recover, how do I repair? A lot of people very quickly learned how to take care of their nodes, going into the Linux kind of terminal and starting to really getting to know their systems, because maybe you as a developer know, you basically just learn technology when you really have to dive into it and fix stuff. So I'm kind of glad we did that journey, but again, this was very, very early on. And in the beginning, there was even backup was hard. So in the beginning, you just had your seed there, and then you had a hot wallet, and if something crashed, you were basically kind of lost. So we were very glad when the first static channel backups on LND came out, and that really helped a lot of people to feel more safe feeling with the node. And even if it's not a perfect backup solution, it is helping out a lot of people in practical life. So I just want to, as a takeaway, let you know, even not perfect solutions are always a good step ahead if you want to make life easier for the normal node runner. And for the CLN, at one point we started, in the beginning we just had LND as a Lightning implementation on there, but we also added later on Core Lightning, but we also needed to at least work around Core Lightning. So there was the projection. Oh.
Try to unplug it and replug it.
Yes, I can try. Let's see, otherwise you get just an audiobook from me. Yeah, we see. So, on around Core Lightning, we had basically to work a little bit the usability features you were knowing from LND. We had a little bit of work around that. So, we try it once again. Let's see. Maybe we can change the adapter. I chose mine. It's normally reliable, but there's also other adapters we can.
There's like 4 adapters.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's just quickly change the. Oh, here we go. Let's hope it stays stable. So we were working around Core Lightning, adding basically an emergency recovery file, beziehungsweise and the seed words, kind of making sure that you get a very similar experience, from LND. So there was we always had to work around the corners. Later on, the implementations were catching on, and we had to remove stuff again. So that was quite an interesting time, but it worked out for a lot of people. And what was nice to see was there was a lot of enthusiasm in the wider Bitcoin community for people to run a Lightning node. This was very, very great to see. But then, very sadly, like 2 years ago, roundabout, we were starting to seeing Lightning as a network basically working fine. You were seeing wallets like Phoenix coming, and it really worked for people very, very well to get them onboarded. So the big nodes were starting to work well, but on the pleb side, on the amateur that was running his little node at home, there started some frustration. So you could really see, it was, in the beginning we were seeing Lightning as an integration, so the RaspiBlitz was basically always a Bitcoin full node with a Lightning node combined, but then people started to say, can I switch off Lightning? And can I just have the Bitcoin node and Electrum server? And it was interesting for us to see, and we wanted to at least share with you this moment. And what we were seeing from what was part of the frustrations, was that channels got forced closed, and for somebody small that was just opening a channel with paying the fees, that was kind of frustrating to see. You have to do the fees again, and that was kind of a big cut into their budget, and they basically lost money, and yeah. In the beginning, even people were coming to us and asking, oh, can I just earn money? I can buy this little machine, put it into my bedroom, and it will basically just generate money routing Lightning. And a lot of people very quickly learned also that is not the promise of, especially not of this project. And we tried never to get people this idea, but people picked it up somehow, and it was very, very hard lessons here and there. But also for the more intuitive or altruistic node runner, you really had this more frustration building up. It was very hard. If you want to build up a small channel today, maybe just 50 euros kind of value, it's very hard to find a node that you can pair with, and then even in the broader Lightning community, some voices were showing up telling basically, oh, all those little amateur nodes, these little Raspberry Pis that are not well maintained, that basically they have very amateur channel management, they maybe are not good for the network, because basically you have a lot of channels that are not working or responding slowly because they are behind Tor. So there was even a little bit of a sentiment from the more professional Lightning node runners to say all those smaller nodes maybe are not that good for the network. But I have to say, and that's basically our statement from our side, that's the price of anarchy you get. I mean, I always wanted to see a network that's always open, that's not basically just an industry that more and more closing the doors to smaller people. I think that's very important to keep in mind. So having those smaller nodes and having those edge nodes, I think it's the price of anarchy everybody has to pay to a certain degree. And to keep the network open and to deal with it, I think is one thing we should at least keep in mind. OpenOms, do you want to add on this kind of part something just in case? I mean, you were very active in the support channels. What were the biggest pain points you were basically taking away there?
Yeah, I mean, Lightning management. I did a full tutorial on this thing, like general node management. It's like lightningnode.info or something the domain is. And I just talked to someone today that he met me at PlebNet, so there was like a lot of experience with this. I don't know. I mean, we did all the recovery function scripted basically, from the experiences. Yeah. RaspiBlitz was then like, what other implementations did we have at the time? You think? Nodal was there for sure, but it was the time before Umbrel.
Let me see if we can get the monitor in again. 20 seconds to recover. Okay. So I don't want to make it too sad this moment. I just want to say for us it was a moment to realize that Lightning is becoming an optional part for the project. So basically that was the time where we then delivering the minimum image of the node just with the Bitcoin core and making Lightning just as an option to add to activate basically if you wanted to do this. And on the other side it was, I want to, on a happy note, and this is really also a big takeaway from the project, this whole experience and also the Lightning movement teached a lot of people a lot of the value of running even just a Bitcoin full node with all the archive of the blockchain, and then with an Electrum server that they can use with their own software so they don't depend on external kind of situations there. And I think one thing we at least helped definitely to establish is the rule of not your node, not your rules. That's definitely something I hope a lot of people took away from there. So maybe today and that's maybe the one question I have a little bit to the group, and I'm very happy if we can discuss this a little bit afterwards, either here with questions or in private. How do we make Lightning cool again for the amateur user, for the small person that wants to join the network? Of course, there are ideas, and I have to say this whole conference was very inspiring to see a lot of ideas that you can take away. For example, how Block is managing the nodes, the takeaways, and stuff. So, but that would be an interesting part to discuss in a broader situation and take some feedback. And we're happy if we can anything on the RaspiBlitz side to help on making Lightning cool again for the plebs.
Can I add here a little, just that the needs of making on-chain transactions great again or something, fashionable again was like, I think there was like a privacy uprise or something, with like the different CoinJoin implementations coming online, like Wasabi, Whirlpool, Join Market was there since like 2015, but they weren't like implemented in a package, there was no software given to you which was able to run like a Join Market node, and I think maybe if we would focus on the privacy properties of Lightning and benefiting from that, it can be as popular in underground as we like, then yeah, I mean, not for the liquidity management. Yeah, you need to go for a hosting, service for that.
All right. We just have about 15 minutes, so what we as a take slides back. Okay. Is there something coming? Let's see now. Something. All right. So I just basically then try without. So it's also no problem. I mean, it's picking up definitely the adapter. I can see that it's changing. All right. So, but the good news is there was a new RaspiBlitz release. It was in the works for quite some time. It is the RaspiBlitz 1.12, and we didn't add anything to Lightning, as you can basically see from maybe the last sentiments. But we were taking time to because we had we were funded at that time and we could work on this full time. So we basically did some groundwork and changed on the data layout, which basically now has a good quite separation between your very important data that you don't want to lose and all the data that you can basically reproduce, like indexes or the blockchain. So now you can really run good backup strategies. You can really concentrate on those very precious data, and especially if we prepared the new data layout for you to even move to more professional setups like Proxmox. So then that ties quite nicely into this data setup. So it would be nice to show some images for that, but I maybe just give you the gist of it by audio. So first of all, it still works with the Raspberry Pi 4. So all of you that have a Raspberry Pi 4 at home still, it still works. But maybe get a 64 gigabyte SD card, because the 32 already gets a little bit. Let's see something reacting. The 32 gets a bit of small. Also, the on the SSD part, the 1 terabyte is getting basically also at its limits. So maybe if you just run Bitcoin, and it will be perfect. That's nice. So. Yeah, all right. So as you can see, the old setup you should take the 2 terabyte now. Sorry, I have to sort myself. So the one new thing that you get with the new data layout is that it's now bootable, because now with the Raspberry Pi 5, you can use the NVMEs with the PCI Express adapters. That's great. This is now, even the small hardware can now run like a real good computer and have a well-attached storage device. And now the boot, we can make it possible to boot finally from the NVMe before you had it just booting from the SD card, which is not the most reliable way to run your system. So this is now possible with the new version. So if you start fresh with the 1.12, it will basically format your NVMe in this new setup with the new partitions. You can still use your old drives or connect your old SSD. This stays in the old format, but it's then not bootable. If you really want to have the bootable option, you really need to one time start fresh. But you can combine this basically very nicely with changing, for example, from a 1 terabyte SSD then to a new kind of 2 terabyte NVMe, and we provided a migration script for you with the new version that helps you to move your data from a smaller drive to a bigger drive. Again, just quickly, it also the setup makes it also now possible to easier make it to use an old laptop for your RaspiBlitz. That's, I think, very important for countries where Raspberry Pis are not very common. I think if you, for example, when we were visiting Africa, South Africa lately, you will see Raspberry Pis not very much available there or very costly, but they have a lot of old laptops that they can use to reutilize and make a Bitcoin node out of it. And again, for Proxmox, you can really, this is the separation of data and storage, so you can now use your data partition and do it completely with ZFS and with a good RAID setup, with a solid backup, and all the kind of big data with the blockchain, just have it on a normal drive, and that should be nice. So this also ties into, we made the decision to keep the RaspiBlitz simple. The RaspiBlitz itself will just support an X4 file system, and this is the way you drive it on a Raspberry Pi. But once you grow up and you see your node is growing, you can move it then, for example, to a Proxmox system, and Proxmox itself has all the management capabilities to have your ZFS and your RAID setup, and also good backup solutions that you can then utilize by the new data separation. One wish list, I mean, OpenOMSTED, I think that was your wish list, to have, maybe we can skip this, we'll also a little bit shorter time, so. All right, so because the last thing we wanted to quickly talk to you about, we, as mentioned, over the last year, Fusion was looking into a prototype, and it's a nice thing, at least we want to show you where we are right now, because the idea was to maybe reutilize some parts of RaspiBlitz, like the backend API and the web UI, which is basically what some people just use to use RaspiBlitz, and to replace on the background maybe these old shell scripts, and which are grown historically quite complex, with a more cleaner setup like NixOS and NixBitcoin, and utilize this great work that the people doing there. So there is. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this before. This is the idea to also run a video.
Is there audio in this?
Yeah. I know. Sorry, we were so confused with the thingy, so I forgot to basically mention that. Oh yeah, we good? Yeah, wait. I will have to put it on the Blackmagic.
Yeah.
All right, let's start again. Can you hear it? All right, okay, the technical setup should have been. Let's do the quickly. Let's see.
System enlarged. And you, hello everyone.
Okay, because Fusion is not here, sadly he wasn't able to stay that long today. He recorded us a video, so I will just play that for you.
Hello everyone. I would like to briefly talk about NixBlitz, which is an attempt to Nixify RaspiBlitz. The protocol was to build a RaspiBlitz-like system on top of NixOS and the Nix ecosystem at large. End users shouldn't have to touch any Nix files. Also, you can use the NixBlitz CLI as a fancy config generator, and then use the config manually. So, and updates should be on device instead of flashing SD cards all the time. On a high level, there are 5 big components that are specific to NixBlitz, which is the installer and the TUI and the experimental web UI. These are all the user-facing components that the user will interact with. And then there are 2 big systems at the system level, namely the installer engine and the system engine. These 2 engines are WebSocket servers written in Rust and Axum, and they are responsible to actually change the config and apply the config to the system when the user changes anything via the web UI or the CLI. The installation process is actually super simple. It works like a typical Linux distribution installer. You flash the ISO to a thumb drive and then you boot into this live system. When you log into this live system, you will see the CLI, the TUI, like you see at the bottom left. And there you can just set all the settings you want for your system. And once you are satisfied with the settings, then you can install the system, and under the hood it's using Disco, which is an automated NixOS installer and drive partitioner. Okay, so the current status is overall the installer works. You can follow the install process via the CLI and the TUI. We can actually generate the live system ISO from Nix config, which is quite nice. And once the system is installed, you can change options and apply these changes via the CLI and the TUI and the web UI. The documentation page provides an overview how the project works, how to install the system, and it is written in Docusaurus, so it's easy to improve and contribute to. To be fair, none of these elements are bug-free in any way, so they still need improvements and testing. Okay, so what's next? Currently I try to improve the developer experience. For the whole time the project was in a monorepo, I have split this into 3 distinct repositories. One for the CLI and all the Rust code, and one for the installer, and another one for the documentation. And also currently when I build all the Rust code in Nix, it will recompile all the code from the beginning. So there are no incremental Rust builds when used with Nix. There is a Nix project called Grain, which is supposed to add incremental builds to Rust code bases. So that would be a nice thing to have, because I feel like I spend too much time looking at Rust code compiling. When that is finished, I will implement the update system, because right now it is not possible to update the system without doing a nixflake update command and then the NixOS switch to the new configuration. I would like to hide this Nix commands from the user, and it should be doable via the web UI or the CLI. Next, I will implement a proper versioning scheme for the configuration JSON files. The JSON files are the files where the actual configuration is stored before it is translated via a template to a working NixOS configuration that can be applied to the system. I really do regret not adding this earlier in the development process, because now it touches so many systems that it's probably a bigger code change, but without this change we don't have a maintainable system, so there is no way around it. One of the challenge we have with NixBlitz is the declarative nature of Nix does not really work well for a dynamic system like RaspiBlitz. That's because we can only generate the Nix configuration code via a template or something like that. And this could get messy as the template grows, I think, in future. So we will have to see how that works out. And one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, is that NixOS does not have any official Raspberry Pi 5 support. That's because the NixOS people don't want to support all the proprietary modules necessary to make NixOS work on a Raspberry Pi. So there are some community ports, but I'm not sure if I want to support them, because they are sometimes not well maintained. If this sounds interesting to you, scan this QR code, then you will get to the documentation site. In the introduction, you can find links to the Signal chat room I have created and to all the repositories. Thank you very much.
All right. So sorry for not seeing the QR code right now, but so just to give you an idea, maybe you're confused now why Nix or Blitz and why RaspiBlitz. As you can see from the takeaways in the end, the Raspberry Pi 5 is not well supported by Nix, and also Nix is the Nix OS or Nix Blitz is maybe the better choice if you already exactly know what you want and you don't want a very dynamic system. So basically, in the end, RaspiBlitz I think is a good choice. It will be a good choice for the Raspberry Pis to start your journey, to get flexible, to even to grow into a Proxmox setup. But once you really then know what you want to run every day and you don't need all the fancy new belts that coming up all the time, maybe then a move to NixOS, and this is what we want to support. That it's easy then to kind of migrate from a RaspiBlitz to a NixBlitz kind of setup is maybe a good choice, because it basically gives you a very declarative, robust system to run your daily operations in. But maybe you're already grown at that point to really run everything by yourself by the command line. That would be, of course, our best wish if you did that learning curve with RaspiBlitz. So far from us, I think our time is basically up. So a few questions. So if there's any questions in the room, happy to join. Or is there any idea how to make Lightning cool again for the plebs? Definitely let us know your ideas, or maybe you have a good starting story to share.